Hello, everybody, and welcome to the September 25th, 2018 edition of the Ephrom Josine Show. I am your host, Ephrom Josine. We've got some of the technical issues figured out, as in this camera will occasionally, not often, but occasionally, pop up with my face. Now, it doesn't happen often, but it happened last night. So that means something. And we should have all the technical issues fixed. However, the other thing I forgot to mention yesterday was we have 2 weeks left, and we have to do 2 full 5-day weeks. And at the end of those 2 full 5-day weeks will be the 100th episode. So that's going to be fun. And now for some good news. We don't start the show off with good news often. Now, the last couple weeks, we've been focusing almost non-stop on Brett Kavanaugh, and who could blame us? He is the Supreme Court Justice and the first one to be accused of sexual assault who's a Republican in 27 years. But hey, he'll have tons of great friends on a Supreme Court. I guarantee it. Well, don't worry, because his hearing is happening this Friday, and the Senate is finally going to vote on him. Mind you, the sexual assault trial is happening Thursday, a day beforehand. So, wait, they're giving him less than 24 hours to collect all their thoughts and have a vote. The Republicans just not want to have them? Well, of course, because that's the only way they're going to keep the House, is if they can drum up enough. The Democrats didn't like Brett Kavanaugh, and keep forgetting why. It's because they want to kill babies. I'm not kidding. Matt Walsh actually argued that, despite the fact, as I've pointed out time and time again, Kavanaugh said he'd support the Roe v. Wade ruling. But what do I know? I just read things the guy says. But okay. Regardless of whether or not you believe Brett Kavanaugh or Dr. Ford, Brett Kavanaugh has not had a single good defense in favor of him. Why didn't she come forward 35 years ago? Well, because his mother, Brett Kavanaugh's mother, was a judge at the time and more than likely would have looked into the case and been the one who prosecuted Brett, which wouldn't have happened very often. Which I imagine some bias there is all I'm saying. But the one thing that's really getting ignored is how much of a slap on the wrist Brett is getting. Bill Cosby was just convicted for a minimum of 3 years in a federal prison. Where is Brett Kavanaugh going to be if his case turns out to be accurate? He won't get to serve as one of the 9 most powerful people for the rest of his life. Oh my God, his life will be ruined. I'll make sure to weep for you, Brett. You'll still be a normal judge who makes a very good living, but you won't get to completely change common law. However, we finally have something to talk about besides Brett Kavanaugh, because the administration and Iran are finally doing some dealings, and you know what? Okay, to be fair to the administration, it's done some bad things when it comes to Iran. You know, everything John Bolton's ever done, getting rid of the Iran deal, still not hanging Oliver North for treason 30 years later, but all of that can be fixed. Come on, Don. What do you got? Well, luckily, Rudy Giuliani made a statement. Let's watch. President Donald Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, on Saturday said that the U.S. sanctions on Iran are leading to economic pain that could lead to a, quote, successful revolution, contrasting with the administration's comments that government change in Tehran is not U.S. policy. Rudy then said, we don't know when we're going to overthrow the Iranian government. It could be in a few days, a few weeks, or a few years. But we're going to do it at some point, apparently. Yeah, that was something you just sort of never brought up, by the way. Oh, yeah, you support regime change in Iran? A lot of people don't. Most people look at the disasters that were caused in Iraq and Afghanistan and Vietnam and all the other wars we've gotten into post-World War II and say, this has been kind of a failure. But Rudy Giuliani says, let's do more of that. And this has also been echoed by John Bolton, who, if you do not know, has basically spent his entire existence trying to invade every country that has a little too many brown people. You think I'm joking, but I'm not. He actually has a document on his computer documenting the ratio of brown people in every country in the world, just to know which countries he should push for invasion next. So, should you be worried? Yes! Yes, you should! Because now a democratically elected president, or barely even democratically elected, now a democratically elected president, barely so, wants to overthrow a government. Just because he can. Look, if you want to criticize the Iranian government, that's fine. There are tons of things to criticize them for. They are an Islamic regime. Of course they have several issues. However, they aren't even the worst place in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia is much worse, and Donnie sells them weapons. But I guess we're just supposed to ignore that because Iran is still angry that we overthrew their government in the 1950s. How dare they, for that matter? And by the way, that kind of led to an Islamic revolution that turned it into a Muslim theocracy. But now we're going to put in a secular leader that will keep it from being a Muslim theocracy again. And then a revolution will come, and it will become Muslim theocracy. And then we'll invade them again because they're a Muslim theocracy. And then they'll have a revolution making them a Muslim theocracy. And just on until eventually Donnie runs out of friends he can pay. That's it. I'm Ephrom, and good night.